speak right now, the United States is as active in NATO as it has ever been. And some of this hysteria and hyperbole that I see in the global media and some domestic media in the United States about NATO is unwarranted. President Trump's made clear he supports NATO. We're going to remain in NATO. He's made clear.
CNN's Alex Marquardt joins us now live from Brussels. Alex, President Trump has openly questioned whether the U.S. and some allies in NATO would come to each other's defense under Article 5, which is the linchpin of the entire alliance.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, we've heard President Trump use in the past that he would allow Russia to do whatever the hell they wanted if NATO allies didn't pay their fair share. Secretary Rubio came here, guys, with very specific agenda items in mind. He wanted to reassure NATO allies about the U.S. presence in NATO. He wanted to talk about Ukraine and the security assistance that could be offered to Ukraine. Do you want to talk about raising defense spending among NATO allies? That's been a big thing for President Trump. But this two-day meeting of foreign ministers here at NATO has been largely overshadowed by the tariffs news that came out just yesterday. I'm told that it is being talked about in side meetings, it's being talked about in the hallways, there are conversations that are going on about it. It's not in the formal sessions because there aren't formal meetings about trade and the economy, but this is something that is slightly distracting. One Western official told me that it makes it hard to do normal business. Guys, I spoke with the Finnish foreign minister a couple hours ago who said that of course it's not good news, but they're trying to have constructive conversations about how to move forward with these tariffs.
Tariffs aren't the best news, but I hope that this is an opening to a fruitful negotiation, especially between friends and allies, whereby we could reach a situation in which we effectively let go of the existing trade barriers between us, because that's what we need. We need a reinforcement, also in economic terms, of the Alliance for the Free World. And yes, we have been talking about that a little bit also today, but the mood has been very, very constructive, and I think also very positive.
So Rubio's counterparts don't appear to be taking it out on him. All of the public interactions have been very friendly. It's clear that the NATO foreign ministers really want to focus on NATO issues. But there was one more possible awkward moment for Rubio. He sat down with the Danish foreign minister. Of course, now the Trump administration is talking about annexing Greenland, which is Danish territory. That meeting appeared to go fine. The State Department says that they actually didn't talk about Greenland in the meeting, but there have been quite a few issues that Rubio has really had to juggle on this trip so far. Boris Brandon.
Oh, to be a fly on the wall there. Alex Marquardt, thank you so much. With us now, CNN senior military analyst, retired Admiral James Stavridis. He is a former NATO Supreme Allied Commander and a partner at the Carlyle Group, which is a global investment firm. Sir, Norway's foreign minister said these tariffs could violate Article 2 in the NATO treaty that orders the alliance's members to promote economic stability and collaboration. Do you think it's a violation of the treaty?
I think that's a bit of a stretch, but it shows you these conversations are not going swimmingly. And, let's face it, the conference that you're talking about, these are diplomats. They're going to be, generally speaking, polite and respectful. That's a good thing. And I also take apart Secretary Rubio's comments that the United States stands behind the alliance. But here's what I worry about, Brianna, from a national security perspective. Number one, we're injecting a lot of tension into this alliance right at a critical moment with our shared desire to help Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression. And by the way, kind of inexplicably to me, Russia is not getting any tariffs, whereas every one of our allies are getting tariffs. The second thing I worry about is over on the Asia side of things, where we see the trade ministers of Japan, South Korea, and wait for it, China, the three of them standing together a couple of days ago, talking about how they would coordinate efforts together against these tariffs. And then third and finally, I look at defense as a business. It's a huge business, defense spending. It's $3 trillion, roughly, United States, about $800 billion in that. All of this tariff talk is going to
folks questioned about that. I know I see you shaking your head. It's perplexing to you when you hear the White House say they're facing such severe sanctions already. What do you make of the explanations that you hear coming from the White House?
They don't make sense because, for example, Iran is getting sanctioned, and Iran is getting tariffed, and Iran is under even more significant sanctions. So the explanation really doesn't hold water in the optics of the tariff. And by the way, it's not just Russia; it's Russia's evil little twin, Belarus. So those two didn't get any tariffs, whereas every one of our allies, partners, friends around the world all got big tariffs. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Marco Rubio reiterating the 5% NATO spending goal. He says we want NATO to be stronger. He's also trying to, I guess, be kind with that. He's saying this is a collection not just to partners and allies, but of advanced economies of rich countries who have the capability to do more. How does that play with allies just a day after these gigantic tariffs were announced?
Well, it will come across as a very, very inappropriate moment to be pushing that. But having said it, I think it's the right message. 5% is extremely ambitious. Just to do the numbers, the U.S. spends about 3.3% of our GDP. Europe collectively spends about 2%. I think giving them a goal of 5% and hoping they land at 3.5% roughly where we are makes a lot of sense. But choosing this moment perhaps is less than optimal in trying to get that otherwise pretty sensible message across.
Admiral, thank you so much for being with us. Always great to get your perspective.
Thanks, Brianna.
And now to some of the other headlines that we're watching this hour. Some scary moments when people had to climb out on the wing of their plane to evacuate it. They say there was a burning smell. There was smoke in the cabin of that American Airlines jet. The airline says the plane had a maintenance issue. This was in Augusta, Georgia on Tuesday. And the next day, a different plane on that same route had a mechanical issue, but it's unclear what the problem was.
Meantime, New York City Mayor Eric Adams says he's ditching the Democratic Party. He's set to run for re-election as an independent. The move comes fewer than 24 hours after a judge permanently dismissed a corruption case against him. This now sets up what's likely to be a frenzied race toward the general election in November, with several Democrats seeking the party's nomination, including former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's leading currently in most polls. And we've got good news and bad news about egg prices. They are starting to fall, but they're still up nearly 60% compared to a year ago. Some stores are still limiting the number you can buy, though the USDA says the supply at grocery stores has improved. The American Farm Bureau says there's been a sharp drop in bird flu, which has then alleviated the strain on prices. So minutes from now, a court hearing for a Tufts University student who was taken off a public street by masked ICE agents. Up next, how her lawyers say the government's gone to great lengths to keep them from meeting with her.
Feeling anxious?
I don't know what's going on.
Don't worry.
Put your feet up. Don't panic.
We can help you cook.
It's called disassociation. It's all fire.
Did you not find that comforting?
Because I got news for you. Saturday at 9 on CNN.
Since starting the farmer's dog, Bogart has lost so much weight, and he has so much more energy. It's like a puppy again.
Mambo!
This is a before picture of Bogart. He's such a big boy. Pre-portioned packs makes it really easy to keep him lean and healthy. And look at him now. He's like a show dog.
Look, can you give Daddy a break here? He's having a hard enough time.
Hey, Dad, I have a question for you.
Sure.
When did Granddad first start investing?
Granddad had an account with Schwab before there were branches in the area. He really started with nothing. He worked hard, and after he passed away, the torch has been passed to me, and my advisor, Jennifer, she was with me with the journey, helping with the estate distribution. The two grandchildren, planning for their college educations. Someday it'll be their turn.